Do we need to take these off?
No. Now. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Raymond James Stadium and to the Chiefs cheat sheet. Darren Smith, Steve Walls. We have a couple of special guests. We don't call them guests; we just call them coworkers. We have Jasmine Palmer. She's our producer, who you've heard or may not have heard throughout the season. DJ Q, of course, he's also one of the co-hosts for the W as well as the Red Hour. We're all here live. We're outside of a Raymond James Stadium as fans are going or getting prepared to go inside the stadium for Super Bowl 55, where the Kansas City Chiefs look to defend their title today against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, the first NFL team to ever host a Super Bowl in their home stadium. Steve, first things first. It took the team only 2 games to get here because they had the best record. They got a bye.
Right.
Your initial thoughts on this matchup?
We talk about early in the season about the team being complacent, and looking towards the end of the season and not looking at the games that were in front of them. And I feel like they were able to do that coming out this season and just ball out. They played every game, and they said, no, we weren't complacent. We're not going to have the Super Bowl hangover. We worry about teams that are doing that. And we look at former teams like the Seattle Seahawks, right? We look at plenty of other teams that have had that Super Bowl hangover and just haven't been able to make it back. And these Chiefs are back here the next year.
Jasmine, I know this is your first Super Bowl you've been able to cover. Your thoughts on the Chiefs making it this far?
Yeah, I mean, it's super exciting. I'm happy to be here in the atmosphere. Last year, obviously, I was in Kansas City during the Super Bowl, so it's a totally different experience being in the hometown. But I'm excited. I'm glad that they were able to, and I think they're here to prove a point.
Q, last year you got a chance to do radio row with us all. First Super Bowl. Your thoughts on today's matchup as well?
It's exciting, especially to come out here and feel the atmosphere of the game, even though the COVID restrictions kind of make it a little different. But it's exciting to be out here. I'm looking forward to an exciting game, front to back.
Yeah, and of course, look, the way that these teams got here, Kansas City, of course, in the playoffs. Again, as I mentioned before, they had a first round bye. Best record. They were 14-2 in the regular season. They then, of course, in the divisional round, defeated the Cleveland Browns 22-17. Patrick Mahomes left that game early in the third quarter with the quote-unquote going through concussion protocol. And then, of course, came back for the AFC Championship game against the Buffalo Bills, where the Chiefs defeated them 38-24. Tampa Bay, however, Steve, they had to play 3 games.
Mm-hmm.
They were a wild card team.
Right.
They were the number 5 seed. They traveled to Washington, took on the Washington football team. They then, of course, turned around in a divisional game, took on the New Orleans Saints, and then they won that game. And then, of course, before getting here, knocked off Green Bay in the NFC Championship game.
Tom Brady hasn't played his best football. I mean, it's not the same Tom Brady that was in New England. I mean, look at the NFC Championship game. He threw three picks, right? If he does that today, the Chiefs will definitely make him pay.
And he does.
And that's one of the things. So many people are like, oh, well, this is Tom Brady. He's the greatest of all time. He's this, he's that. However, he's not playing his best. And people got on me. They at me all season long because I'm like, hey, Tom Brady's washed. He's going to a new team. They haven't had a preseason. All that is null and void now. They're here in the Super Bowl. So we just have to see what kind of day he's going to have.
Now, being factually speaking, I was the only one that picked this matchup at the beginning of the season. So shout out to your boy for that.
Every bro clock is right twice a day.
Hey, I at least say it. That's all I need to be is right. I just need to be right that one time. But that being the case, Q, look, we've gotten here. What's your outlook on Tampa Bay? With their path to making it back here in Tampa Bay, where they're able to host the Super Bowl.
It just shows the level of talent that they acquired in the offseason, really the past couple of seasons. Adding JPP a little while ago, adding Leonard Fournette, and a couple of pieces on defense. It just shows that, the level of talent that they have, it just can't be denied. And then when you have a leader at quarterback that can cut down on turnovers, not throwing, 30 interceptions in the season, it just shows that that level of talent can make it to any type of heights, and we're seeing it today.
Jasmine, 22,000 fans will be in attendance. 7,500 of those fans are essential workers that were given tickets by the NFL and across the 32 teams. If you're Kansas City, what does what does not having a full crowd do for you?
I think it's definitely a different experience. Obviously Arrowhead being the loudest stadium, they're totally used to having the fans there, and that definitely can play a role in the game, the atmosphere, getting those guys hype. But I think how do you not get hype on Super Bowl Sunday? I think
Yeah.
they'll be up for it regardless.
So I'm curious because I know Steve, I know you were telling me as we were coming here that they were disagreeing with you all week about the fact with the team having to stay in the hotel now. But before we came out of there, they've already loaded the buses. They are here in the stadium. I know we saw Patrick out on the field a little bit earlier, but why did you think them being locked away in the stadium? I guess in their hotel room throughout the evening once they landed and checked in was an issue?
Well, there's a couple of reasons. Well, if they were staying at the Hilton, downtown Tampa Bay. Downtown is where they're having the fan experience. They're having Radio Row. They're having so much traffic, and this is the COVID year, right? They had to block off the hotel. You had fans all around the outside of the stadium, and the stadium. And all around the hotel. And the hotel, it wasn't like it's a 30-floor hotel. 15 at max.
Yeah.
So you'll be able to hear everything that's happening. The horns blowing from the cars, the music, everything, the cheers. And I felt like that was kind of a distraction, so to speak. Now, when you look at when teams come into Arrowhead, they're not staying across the street at the Cocoa Keys or whatever that name of that hotel is. They're not. They're staying out of the Arrowhead area, and they're staying down at the plaza where there's not many distractions. And if there are, the Intercontinental is 40 floors or whatever. So I just felt like that was a huge distraction for them to put them right in the center of the city where everything is happening.
Yeah, now, again, we're live outside of Raymond James Stadium. Of course, behind us, you'll see the big Super Bowl deal where Kansas City will be taking on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Q, when we look at this matchup, Kansas City has won 3 world championships, 1 pre-Super Bowl area, obviously Super Bowl 4, and, of course, last year. What are some of the keys, in your opinion, for Kansas City to pull off this win in today's game? Because sometimes we talk about how hard it is to beat a team twice in the season. Kansas City beat them 27-24 in week 12. Obviously, looking at the videotape, you would imagine Todd Bowles and that defense decided that they're not going to single cover Tyreek Hill the second time around.
Yeah, the key to Tampa Bay, especially on defense, the key to stopping Tampa Bay for the Chiefs, really is to slow up that pass rush. The makeshift defense that they have, makeshift offensive line that they have right now with a few key injuries, they really need to hold them off. And I think they do a lot of that with some of their trick plays, a lot of motion, and really just trying to misdirect them. Not allowing them to pin their ears back and just scream at the quarterback all day. And that's going to be key.
Yes.
Yeah, I think I agree with what Q said, and I think it's important to keep that tempo and that same energy the entire game. I know sometimes the Chiefs tend to match the other team's energy in the beginning, but I think as long as they come out strong from the jump, it'll be a good day.
Steven, so I'm curious. Obviously, you talked about at the time Brady being washed up. Now, I thought that last week, 2 weeks ago against the Packers, when he threw a 3-second half interception, I thought he was trying to get the game away. I'm like, bro, you got a 2-score lead. But, I guess the flip side is he was trying to, end the game as best as he could by at least risking it for the biscuit. Mm-hmm. That being the case, when you look at this matchup today, what is going to be, one of the X factors in the ball game for Kansas City to get to get Tom Brady be uncomfortable and to get start tapping like Gregory Hines in the backfield?
It's going to have to be Frank Clark. Frank Clark, and this is a lot of people had a lot of smoke for Frank Clark on social media and sports radio and T-Sports television, all that. They're saying, hey, Frank Clark, you're one of them. Frank Clark doesn't deserve the money that he's getting right now. And this was earlier in the season.
This season, Frank and Chris Jones for most of the season were in the witness protection program.
They were.
They came out. I mean, they've come out recently, but to what I said and what you were talking about, there's a lot of credibility to that because again, Chris Jones wanted to play in week 10 to get 2.5 sacks,
right,
to get to 10. Well, you had all those other games the opportunity to get to 10 sacks. So
now, with all that being said, Frank Clark, the numbers speak for themselves. Frank Clark is still in the postseason is still leading the NFL in sacks. He's still leading the NFL in rushes. For, getting after the quarterback. He's leading the NFL in all those statistical categories, and that's why the Chiefs. You talk about it all the time. That's why the Chiefs brought in Frank Clark. That's why they brought in Tyrann Mathieu for these playoff games to get past 5-5 and he ain't offsides. I mean, that's just what it is. And no matter how he's playing in the regular season, the team still they only lost really one game because week 17 we really can't even count that. So Frank is still doing the Frank Clark that we saw last year at the tail end of the season.
This is, of course, the first time that these two teams have faced off in the playoffs. Obviously, the only time they'd be able to face each other would be in the Super Bowl. Look, against common opponents, the Kansas City Chiefs are 7-2. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers are 8-2. But looking at the coaching matchup, they both have a 500% record against each other. Bruce Arians is 1-1 against the Chiefs, and of course, Andy Reid is 6-6 against the Bucs, especially with his time back in Philadelphia. Q, when we look at this, and there are players coming back. DeMarcus Robinson, Daniel Kilgore, they were on the reserve COVID-19 list this week due to an exposure with one of the Chiefs' barber. They're able to play in today's game. They were cleared. Of course, Eric Fisher is out. Mitchell Schwartz has been out since week number 6 this season. Will the addition of DeMarcus Robinson and Daniel Kilgore, how will that factor in the Chiefs' game plan today?
I don't know if it factors much. DeMarcus Robinson, he just adds depth to that receiving core. And I don't want to say he's not key to their game plan, but he could come in and add depth. And you need that big body, especially in the red zone. We've seen them use him in the red zone quite a bit, and especially across the middle. But you have Travis as that big body,
right?
And I don't know, them being out, it would change the course of the game, but still being at full strength in case somebody goes down, and that's not what you want to see anyway. But in case somebody goes down, it's that depth factor.
The Chiefs have activated Deion Yelder from the injured reserve and also elevated from the practice squad Matt Moore, Marcus Kemp, and Chris Lemons. Now, it kind of raised my eyebrows when I saw at least Marcus Kemp, because I'm thinking Chiefs are going to be having a lot of wide receivers. Now, I'm not sure he's going to play that much, if at all. But I think the option out there for Kansas City is, hey.
You don't have Marcus Kemp for receiver purposes. Dave Toub likes Marcus Kemp because special team. Yeah. The way that he's able to affect special teams and help out, I think that's the reason that they brought Marcus Kemp back.
Speaking of special teams, of course, one of the questions that we had last night was McCall Hardman. Obviously, there's no game after today. Mm-hmm. Would we see a scenario where Tyreek Hill returns punts today?
There's always in this. I'm putting on my best Dave Toub impersonation. There's always an option for Tyreek Hill to be back there. He practices it. He warms up with Miko out there, taking back punts and kickoffs and all that. So
Tyreek
can change it. Tyreek can change a game.
And
he really can.
And he still refers to himself as a returner.
A return specialist. Yeah, he does. So I mean, if there's a situation where we want to make sure that they're going to kick the ball, they're going to try to shank the ball, or we want to get some type of an explosive return. I think there's a situation where they may just throw him back there to see what he can do.
I'm curious. Lack of fans. We got about 22,000 fans. There are a lot of Chiefs fans down here for people.
More than Tampa Bay.
Yeah, Tampa resides. This is the home game. Ticket prices were still outrageous. They were still kind of high, but. I want to jump into these because I know we're not long, before kickoff. I think we're about 90 minutes away or so. Q, X factor in today's game for you.
X factor for me again is going to be the offensive line of the Chiefs, and them really stepping up. Tyreek Hill is always the X factor. He's who they go to for a spark. We saw it in the Miami game earlier this season, but it's the X factor is protecting Pat.
Jasmine?
I would have to agree. I would say protecting Pat, giving him time to maneuver in the pocket, and then putting pressure on Brady, not giving him that time.
That's good. Now Steve, to that point about the offensive line again, without Eric Fisher, without Mitchell Schwartz, you and I have been on different sides of this as it relates to Patrick with his running ability, but that is the very key to his success and to the team's success, to where I'm not so sure that the loss of both Fisher and Schwartz will even play a factor in the game, because look, if you pressure Patrick Mahomes, and Patrick, obviously, as I said, he runs outside the pocket. Well, as a defender, I have two quick decisions I have to make. Do I come off of my man and try to go after Patrick, which will then allow Patrick to just dump the ball over my head to the receiver or to the person that I've missed my assignment on, or do I stay with it and allow Patrick to continue running, maybe slide, get a first down, or dump it off into the flats where the running back or maybe the tight end can continue on with the play? Your thoughts?
Yeah, here's the thing. If Tampa Bay is able to be successful with just rushing 4 guys, then the Chiefs are going to have a long day. Against that offensive line. I mean, if they're rushing those 4 and everybody else, the other corners and safeties are able to drop back, play the deep ball, give Patrick the under, right? Give him, all right, we're going to let you dump it down to Le'Veon, dump it down to Clyde, make Clyde and Le'Veon beat us, or we're not going to give you that long ball. You're going to have to throw it to Travis Kelce. Make somebody else beat us. They're probably going to try to do what Bill Belichick tries to do every time he faces the Chiefs. Take away their best 2 players, which is Travis Kelce and Tyreek Hill. That means Mecole Hardman, they got Byron Pringle. Those guys are going to have to step up. DeMarcus Robinson, all those guys are going to have to come in key today. Now, remember, Sammy Watkins is still going to play. So I think
he starts today.
Yeah, so he will be a factor. People forget, and I stress this all the time, Sammy is a former first-round pick.
Yeah,
so
number 4 overall.
Yeah, so Sammy can still put in work. We saw what he did last year, which is why he's called Playoff Sammy. So if he's able to do what he needs to do, I think they'll be okay. But if you ask these two about being an X factor, I think it's Tyrann Mathieu. I say this every week. If you see Tyrann Mathieu running around, pointing at his head, doing everything that he does, being a honey badger, doing the roaming and affecting different plays, I really believe that. Not only Tyrann, but L'Jarius Sneed. We've seen Steve Spagnuolo draw up different options for L'Jarius to go and sack the quarterback, get after the quarterback. I think that's what we're going to see today as well.
My biggest concern, which is something that a lot of people haven't really talked about, at least not on the Chiefs side of the football, the running game. I know, Steve, earlier you said on 810 that you think that this game we'll see a big game from Le'Veon Bell. Why is that?
Le'Veon's kind of been playing possum. He hasn't played the last 2 games. When we've asked Coach Eric Bieniemy and also Andy Reid about why Le'Veon isn't getting the rock, I mean, all he said was that, last week Le'Veon had some knee swelling. Le'Veon's knee, he had some knee issues. I just think he's been playing possum. Now, you went and got Le'Veon. You have Clyde. That's the great 1-2 punch. Let him do it. Put in work. Remember, he was a 2-time All-Pro. You always like to say that.
Yep.
2-time All-Pro. That just doesn't fade away. I think he still has some great attributes that he's able to provide today in today's game.
Now, I asked you all the X factor. My X factor for the game today is, to be honest, is Steve Spagnuolo. The type of defense that he calls, obviously being able to chalk up the pressure to Tom Brady. He has been the kryptonite to Tom Brady as it relates to the Super Bowl and just in games in general when he came on board. As soon as the Chiefs got him, they knocked New England off up in New England last year. Obviously, they knocked them off earlier this year in November, and of course, the opportunity to do so again. I think whatever adjustments that they make, because Tampa Bay is going to try to make adjustments from the last game to what you sent up against Brady. So you're going to have to make adjustments to those adjustments. Mm-hmm. How do you do that? How do you put Chris Jones, Frank Clark in position to get pressure? Because I've said that if you don't hear Chris Jones or you don't hear Frank Clark's name being called early and often in the first half, that's a problem, because to me that means Tom Brady is not being touched. He's not being pressured. He's got, and Tom Brady only needs really 2 seconds to get the ball out of his hand. So if you can't get back there and get enough pressure to him right away, even if it's by sending Tyrann Mathieu or the corner blitzes like they were doing in Week 12, this could be a long day.
Yeah, definitely. And the key to beating Tom Brady is leaving him uncomfortable. Making him as uncomfortable as possible. Tom Brady loves a clean pocket, and if
doesn't he ever?
If he has people around his feet and And that could be from the old injury against the Chiefs back in the early 2000s. Yes, like it could be past trauma from that. But when Tom Brady is not able to step up and throw and really use his, because Tom Brady is great with his feet, especially with his subtle movements. He's not like Pat where he's very elusive, but he knows how to make subtle movements and hide behind different linemen so that way he can push the ball upfield. And if you're able to disrupt that, any piece of his throwing mechanics, then you'll be successful.
Yeah, I would agree, man. Tom is, like you said, he can be a problem for defenses because he still look. I said at the beginning of the season that Tom Brady is washed. He's not able to get the ball downfield, but he's proven me wrong. He has
Time and time again.
No, not time and time again. Just this year. Just this year. But with that being said, Tom is going to definitely try to be elusive today. And the thing about it too is that when the Chiefs rush the edge, Tom is going to try to step up. However, that's when Anthony Hitchens, he's been at his best. He's been able to kind of clog up that middle. Chris Jones and company. Those guys are going to have to get after Tom.
Steve, one of the things that, so one of the big differences that's going on this year is, of course, the safety measures that they're doing here at the stadium. What do you have in your hand right there?
Well, the NFL has been so gracious enough to provide all media and also all the fans with these personal protection pack. And what's inside this? There's a face mask, there's antibacterial wipes, there's hand sanitizer, and also earplugs. So I think this is it's a good idea that the NFL has provided all fans that are coming to the game, and also I believe all employees and media as well. Yeah. So it's pretty cool.
And I do want to say we do want to give a shout out to Tech Nine. We saw him before, but before we started the broadcast, he is here repping Kansas City to the fullest. So he's for a guy who loves sports as much as he does, we're glad to see him here. I want to switch it just a little bit. Because CBS this week, the last 2 weeks, they've been building up this matchup more so Patrick versus Tom, even though it's Chiefs versus Bucks. And we'll start with you, Jasmine. Obviously, if Tom Brady wins this game, that's Super Bowl win number 7. Patrick will be 1-1, and then again, there's no guarantee he'll be able to come back or do it like Brady's done it for 10 times already. But if Patrick wins it, that helps him, that kind of springboards him even more, in that conversation. Not the GOAT conversation just yet, because his career's still budding. But it does help with his legacy. I think the legacy aspect of this game will work for and against if Patrick wins or loses this game.
I really don't think it's a deal breaker for Patrick right now. It's still really early. He has great accolades already. He's still young, and I think it'd be a great builder on that, but I don't necessarily think that it's a deal breaker for him.
If Pat loses today, it does nothing for his legacy as far as
it makes him 1-1.
Yeah, it does nothing. If the Chiefs organization can insulate him as well as they have over the past 3 years, you don't have an issue with his legacy. And he's one of those guys, he's going to do nothing but get better.
Steve, I'm starting the way you look that you disagree with him, and you're probably going to come on my side, but let me hear what you got to say.
No, man, look, it will affect his legacy. And the reason I say that is because Tom Brady has won, the number of Super Bowls that he's won. If Patrick Mahomes, let's just say he matches that, right? At the end of his career, let's say he's 36, 37 years old. He's won the same amount of Super Bowls as Tom Brady. There's always going to be that hanging over your head. You never beat Tom Brady in a big game. The 2018 AFC Championship game to go to the Super Bowl, you didn't beat him. Yep. The 2020 Super Bowl, you didn't beat him. That goes without being said. Of like, all right, Patrick, that's going to be in the back of your mind. It's going to mess with your conscience. And for that matter, he's always going to have that that's just hanging over him. And I don't think he wants that.
Yeah, and people do that to LeBron James as well, and he's still the GOAT. People,
Hold on, wait a second now. You talking about LeBron being the GOAT on the W? LeBron ain't no GOAT on this show.
people did the same thing about Tom Brady losing to Eli Manning, and nobody's saying anything about Tom Brady not beating Eli Manning.
But Eli was never in an argument of being a baby goat.
Yes, of course, but he has that hanging over his head, and he's still the GOAT to this day. So.
I will say this as it relates to the legacy. I do believe that it affects Patrick's legacy because Patrick is looking at the long picture, and there's a reason why he and others are talking about dynasties and stuff.
Of course,
you can't have a dynasty where you come up short the first year, you win it the second year, you get there to the end, of the third year, but you fall short, and you fall short against somebody who you're looking to hopefully one day jump across. And so I do believe that it's a factor. Obviously, even if he wins 2 Super Bowls, yes, that puts him in a different stratosphere where you're not Aaron Rodgers, you're not Drew Brees, you're not Russell Wilson. Now you're Ben Roethlisberger, you're John Elway. Now you're getting up there. What would separate him even from Tom Brady is that if they can win today, and of course we already know what the talk is going to be, rerun it back or whatever, or
it's going to be three-peat, man. You can't be nothing else.
So you're going to be looking for a three-peat. Now you do that. That is something that Tom Brady or no quarterback, no team has done in the Super Bowl era that we have going on right now. So if you're able to win today, and then at least look, stay healthy, get back into the playoffs. All chips are, all bets are off after that. But if you're able to get to Los Angeles and play in that Super Bowl and win that, now you started your own legacy that Tom Brady can't even do because he's never three-peated.
Definitely, and that could be huge for him. That could ultimately be a leg up, over Tom Brady.
Sure.
As far as three-peating.
Well, because if you stop and think about it, it's just legacy talk. When Jordan first three-peated, that was something that Bird, Magic Johnson had done, and even after those 3, they considered him the greatest, even though they had more champions. Well, Magic and a few others had more championships than him. And then he came back and was able to three-peat again. So again, maybe if you three-peat, maybe now it's you, and even though Joe Montana and Terry Bradshaw, they've been undefeated 4-0 now, but you still put yourself in a different conversation because of that. So again, if you're Patrick, it's one thing, and we talk about it all the time. Is it better to lose before you get to the Super Bowl or to get to the Super Bowl and lose? I think Patrick is one who would rather lose in the AFC, or I think he would rather lose in a divisional or a wild card versus even the AFC Championship or the Super Bowl.
I don't know an athlete that wouldn't want to play in a championship game.
I wouldn't. I definitely
win or lose.
Yeah,
I don't know an athlete that would skip that.
Because get us there. Get us to the Super Bowl. If I'm Patrick, get me to the Super Bowl.
That's what I'm saying. But that's what I'm saying. If you're Patrick, at least his thing is he wants to get to Super Bowl, and then we'll let the chips fall where they may. But of course, his mindset is always going to be, look, first of all, to beat Patrick in the playoffs, you got to score at least 31 points. And he's only lost one game in the playoffs where it was 37-31 to the Patriots. So for this game to even go that route, you've got to be able to, move the ball because this team is going to be able to score. I don't see a 13-3 type ball game, but to that point, before we close out, I want to get everybody's picks for today's game. And Jasmine, who you got and what's your score? And who is your Super Bowl MVP?
I'm saying I'll take 35-28 Chiefs. And then my Super Bowl MVP is Patrick Mahomes.
Patrick Mahomes. Q, who you got?
I have Patrick winning the MVP. I have the Chiefs winning the game. 34-31. Harrison Butker probably goes
Don't do that
4 for 6, but that fourth one might be the game sealer.
Hold on. 4 for 6 with field goals?
Yes.
Steve, help me out, Steve, because Q's getting ready to send me home like Red Fox, man. Come on, help me out.
Oh man, I got my score is 31-17. I think the Chiefs are going to come in and blow the doors.
That's not enough for me, Steve.
It doesn't matter. They're going to come in and blow the doors off of Tampa Bay. A lot of these fans, there's a lot of people that don't want to bet against Tom Brady. Why?
That part is true.
Why?
Before you go further, are you all shocked because we've had people on our show this week that have talked about Tom Brady proves them wrong every time, but this week even though it's the Chiefs and it's Patrick Mahomes and the scoring, blah 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 blah, they don't want to pick. They're afraid to pick against Tom Brady. I mean, what is it about them?
It's idiotic. They're idiots, man. I'm just telling you. I'm calling them all. I'm calling them out right now,
Steve.
on the show. They're idiots. Come on, man. Tom is not the same Tom.
This is 20 years of hurt, and Tom's not the same Tom, but Tom's back in the Super Bowl.
Tom is not the same Tom. I'm telling you. Look, you're gonna see, and this is a stat that hasn't been talked about, and we talked about it on the earlier show. All the Super Bowl that Tom Brady has been in, he hasn't let a team down and score in the first quarter. If the Chiefs are able to put up a score in the first quarter, come back in the second quarter, get another score, and we've seen them do that time and time again, where they are going in the second quarter, they score, get the ball back at half, come out and score again. So if the Tampa Bay Buccaneers find themselves down 2 scores, it's going to be a long day for the old Tom today.
No, I'm definitely with you. If they find themselves down 2 scores, they're going to be climbing up each and every time. I have the score being 42-35. I think, and the reason why I have it a 1 touchdown game again, I think that the Chiefs get up, and I think they stay up 2 touchdowns throughout the game. And I just think Tom Brady gets a late touchdown late in the ball game, where the score looks a lot more closer than what it truly is, kind of like the 27-24 matchup that took place in November. So we all are on the Chiefs, which means Chiefs are going to win. We ain't doing none of that Swami talk. Look, it's been a long season for all of us, for the for the W crew, for, of course, myself, the Red Hour, the Chiefs cheat sheet. We finally did it. We hit that, Steve. You and I got another Super Bowl underneath our belt. First of all, who are you wearing? And then, of course, shout out to our sponsors.
For sure. I want to say thank you to Dillard's, who has dressed me all week. Jeff over at Dillard's on the Rosa. Make sure you go out to Dillard's. They have everything you need for both men and women. They'll take care of you, so go check them out. Dillard's on the Rosa.
But you also have sponsors throughout the week. So
for sure. I want to say thank you to all of our sponsors for taking care of us, allowing us to make the trip down here and be a part of Radio Row, because that's something that we did last year and wanted to run it back as well and come back this year. So I just want to say thank you to all of our sponsors that took care of us this week.
Had to make sure he did that, because we're going to need sponsors next year when we're wearing Steve.
Sure.
Los Angeles, baby.
Sure.
Want to send a shout out to Todd White, who has dressed me all season this year and last year. We'll do it again next year. Want to thank Cherry Sports Gear. Want to thank the Shareways Foundation, Gates Barbecue, of course, and even Union Broadcasting for their help down here while we were here this week for Super Bowl 55. So, for Darren Smith, Steve.
One second. Can't leave Jazz out.
No. I'm good.
Okay.
I was going to get to know.
All right.
Jazz, who you got?
I got 3 in Me Boutique. Go check her out. She's in the Iron District in Kansas City, Kansas. She's got awesome Chiefs gear too. So go by and check her out.
Q?
And I dressed myself.
All right. Well, once again, I want to thank everyone for tuning in. This has been another exciting season. Of course, make sure you catch us tomorrow night on the Red Hour.
For sure. That's going to be
fun. Yeah, where we recap tonight's game between the Chiefs and the Bucs as we celebrate, knock on wood at least, another Super Bowl title championship run for Kansas City. So, Darren Smith, Jasmine Palmer, Steve Walls, DJ Q, go Chiefs. We out of here.
Peace.
Oh, hold on.
Wait a minute.
Hold on for me. Yeah, somebody,
hold on. I'm gonna just
okay, so hold on for hey, see, this is what you call live. We have
this is live
television.
Hey, what up, Q? How you doing, man?
We got the mayor of Kansas City, Quentin Lucas.
What up?
Quentin, just give us your thoughts on today's matchup and your score for the game.
Well, look, we got a beautiful day here in Tampa. I know it's a little colder in KC, but we're bringing a W back to Kansas City. Score prediction, we're going to be in the 30s. Let's go 35-21. Won't be close at the end. The new GOAT takes over for the old GOAT.
Okay, that's 56 points. I can live with that.
Hey, that's what we, let me see this ring. Let me see this ring.
Stop it.
I got to make it one day like all of them.
Hold on, you got one.
Nah, man, I'm just getting by. So no, hey, I got my people. Everybody stay safe. Y'all look good. So let's go Chiefs.
Hey, I see you got your personal protection pack as well.
Oh, you know that. This is my moment. I'm gonna be selling this at 47% for sale real quick. I'm bad.
Before we get out of here,
Yes, sir.
when the Chiefs win,
Yes, sir.
what is it that Tampa Bay and the mayor they have to pay?
They supposed to give me a bunch of cigars.
Ooh.
I'm not a big smoker, so I'm gonna
Hey,
pass it to everybody
here we
else
go. I'm
around here.
good.
But, no, otherwise, that's what we're gonna get. But
Okay.
you know, I'm just pumped for this game right now. I've been waiting a long time.
And one other thing,
Yes, sir.
did the Buffalo
Yeah.
the Buffalo's mayor pay up on those
He
wings?
paid up on the wings. I didn't get to eat any, but you know, maybe after this game, I may do some of the cigars this time.
Yeah.
Hey, y'all take care. All right.
All right, thank
That
you.
was our man, Mr.
you
Quentin
later.
Lucas, the Honorable Quentin Lucas, joined us on the show right before, of course, the end of it. Once again, Darren Smith, Jasmine Palmer, Steve Walls, DJ Q. Is there anybody else coming in?
He ran up like,
hey, hold on. Don't Thank you so much for joining us. We'll see you all next season.
We out of here.
That's funny. Hey, hold on. Wait,